Welcome to Chris and Jen in the Morning.
Where it's always morning somewhere.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Jen. And we are so excited. We have two special guests with us today. We have April and Shaina Dreyson here. April and Shaina are members of the Keller Southlake community, have been members of this community for like forever. They own and operate a small business called The Dreyson based in Keller. They are the founding force of Kelso Pride. We are super excited to talk about Kelso Pride today. Super excited to have you guys here.
Yes, thank you for having us. We're excited about this.
Awesome. So today, Chris and I are going to talk with April and Shaina about Kelso Pride. We'll also talk a little bit about April and Shaina and get to know them a little bit. But before we get started into that, we want to take a few minutes to do our gratitude moment. Chris, you want me to kick it off?
Sure, go for it.
Awesome. Today, I am feeling super grateful for being able to take some time in the midst of chaos and just take my camera outside and spend time taking photographs of the birds. I have been traveling back and forth to Wichita to be with my family through some stuff that we have going on. And I have been able to just go outside and take an hour to myself in the morning. And my parents live on this piece of property that has this retention area behind it, and there are just all kinds of gorgeous birds that live back there. I'm standing outside in the humid, hot weather, just dripping sweat, smiling ear to ear, taking pictures of all kinds of different birds, cardinals and blue jays, and I don't know, birds I can't remember the name of that are every kind of color. And I just really got to take some time for myself and enjoy that. Kind of brought me a bit of levity in the midst of hard things. I'm just feeling really grateful to have the opportunity to go out, kind of connect with nature, get some gorgeous pictures. That's what I'm feeling grateful for today.
So grateful for the birds, not for the hot and humid temperatures.
No, my bird friends. Grateful for my bird friends.
Gotcha. Yes, and you shared a couple of those photos with me, and they were really good. So you are getting better with that camera with every click.
Yeah, a few of them refused to sign the waiver, which was really frustrating. They just would not be still, but a few of them were like eating up the camera. So it was great.
Well, I'm glad you had those moments of just time to recenter yourself, because I know that's very important in stressful times. So I'm glad you got that.
It was just a really good reminder to me that no matter what's happening in life, you can always take time to step away and reconnect with what brings levity and peace and joy to you. We have agency of ourselves. We get to choose how we show up. Right. It's great to get to choose to take that time to give back to myself.
Well, I love that. That's a great transition into what I'm grateful for, having the agency of yourself. I, this week, feel like I've seen and heard a lot of messages around people really encouraging people to speak up, use your voice. Don't be silent whenever you see or hear something. I've seen several content creators encouraging people to speak out about things that are happening around the world, but also here within the United States. Most recently, I saw this story about Pink, who, I love and adore Pink.
Yes.
She actually gave out banned books at her Florida concert. She partnered with this organization called, it's like the Pen America, to distribute 2,000 copies of books that have been banned in that area. So look, I love people who stand up and speak for the things that they believe in, and the fact that she did that at a concert of her own, love it. So I'm grateful for people who are willing to speak up and speak out about things, because that's how you hold people accountable, right? That's how you show that there's different perspectives, different point of views. And if we stay silent, then nothing's going to change.
I love that. And I love Pink.
Yeah.
I love that.
Which is also a great transition into having April and Shaina here with us.
Yeah, speaking of amazing humans, we are so excited to get to share some time with April and Shaina. And I know we introduced you a little bit, but before we start asking you some questions, do you want to share a little bit about who you are and how long you've been here in Keller?
Yeah, so we are married. We've been married for 3 years. We've had 4 weddings.
To each other?
4 weddings.
4 weddings to each other. 2 of them were technically styled shoots, but counting them, we went through vows and everything.
I love that. That's amazing.
All the weddings, very extra. But we moved to Keller in 6th grade, and Shana moved to Keller in 7th grade. Both went to Keller High School and are currently living in Keller and raising our kids here. So, and running our business here. I'm on the board of directors for the Keller Chamber of Commerce, and we're both just really active in the community still.
Yeah. As we were getting to know each other before the interview, in the past few weeks, that's one of the things that I learned is that you are super active in the community. And it's inspiring to me because we, focus so much on the national scale, but really what impacts our day to day is local and living local. It's something that, my husband and my son and we have all talked about. We need to get more engaged at the local level. And I know it's something Chris inspires me to do with some of his engagement and involvement. But I love that. I love that you decided to just really embrace that. What inspired that for you?
I think it's just been a series of like the universe making it happen. Like I made a post a while back about how like my teenage self would never believe that I was still in Keller. My dad, who has passed away, would never believe that I'm still in Keller and that I am so involved in the community. And I think that it's just, before Shana and I started dating, I had been doing a lot of work on myself, and kind of finding who I am and my voice, and through that allowed me to be ready for a relationship that was healthy and wonderful. And then like everything else just fell into place, like the way that we worked together, and then starting our business and networking for our business became so much more than networking to us. It became community to us, and implementing change in different ways and changing people's perspectives, and then having other people in the community reach out to us because their perspective was changed. Like our youngest in the car one day was like, "Oh my God, I saw a YouTube video, and this guy was like, I was so judgmental of the gay community. And then I went to this party where these two lesbians in Keller were at, and just talking to them and getting to know them changed my perspective on everything." She's like, "They were talking about you."
I love that.
That's awesome.
Why didn't you send that to me?
There's a share option on YouTube,
Right. Can we find that? I love that. This is something Chris and I have actually talked a little bit about recently is, I think, in my opinion, so much of the judgment that happens and this like polarization of moving into different camps where it's either for or against, and this kind of abrasive divisiveness seems to me to come from a place of people just not understanding. Like, you can't have empathy if you don't have understanding. You can't like spend time really thinking about something or trying to relate to it if you don't get it and you don't know what it is. So that's something Chris and I have really been diving into. And when we think about like how do we make an impact on this tension that exists in our country, in the world at large, but specifically in the places that we live, because it feels so big, and we keep coming back to just trying to live that value of creating more awareness in a way that is empathetic, not in a way that's divisive or argumentative, that gives people an opportunity to kind of see, and for us to continue expanding our perspectives and try and see as much of what the world looks like through other people's shoes so that we can relate and connect. And then it becomes not so scary, because most of the time, like, we agree with 90% of what other people think. And it's that 10% that we spend all of this time arguing about.
Yep.
I love that you are, kind of representing that within the community. And it's something that is so, so needed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pulling people in.
yeah, and I was gonna say too, I think for me, when we were getting to know each other, I know that I kind of told you guys, I was hesitant on coming back to Keller because I was closeted when I lived in Keller and went to middle school and high school, and so I just never imagined myself putting myself back in this space. And then to be completely vulnerable, I think just running a business with my wife in this area and us being involved in Keller was important to us because we wanted it to be known. We wanted it to give other people that vision of them being able to see themselves coming out if they weren't out yet. or
Yeah.
being able to own a business and be open about having a wife or having a husband or whatever that looked like for them. And so, super important to me when I first started our business to come into those spaces. But it was very apparent when I stepped into my first networking event that there was no representation, right? There was really no diversity in
Yeah.
Keller
Yeah.
and other communities that we were in. And so I was like, this is needed. And so it's important for us to show up so that
Yeah.
other people start showing up as themselves, you know, and they
Yes.
can be their most authentic self. And that's what was most important to me because I was like, if we're going to run our own business, you know, I want it to be fully us. Like, I don't want to have to work for someone else and, you know, kind of follow all of their rules or, you know, kind of stick with that stereotype of when I worked for corporations and was in corporate sales, like they would show you the picture of the dress code and the woman would clearly be in heels and
Yeah.
wearing a dress or wearing a skirt and didn't have an undercut or didn't have their hair short. And so I really wanted to break those stereotypes. But if we were going to run our business, we were going to do it right and also do it with integrity and do it as our most authentic selves. So that was super important to me.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I will tell you, like, it's crazy how much more diverse the networking events are that we go to now. And how many I went to. It's very rare that I do the early morning ones, but every once in a while, we come across a new business owner in the area and I invite them to an early morning networking event, which means that I have to go. Um, I went to one just a couple months ago and I was like, there's 4 gay people in this room. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
because when I lived in Keller, I don't think I knew that 4 gay people lived or worked in Keller.
Oh my God, Chris, hundreds live here. We didn't know until we announced Pride how many live here. Like, it's crazy.
Well, so that's kind of where I wanted to like ask this next question around creating that sense of home and community in this space that we didn't know about a long time ago. But now that you have started speaking up and talking about Pride Kelso, what has that experience been like for y'all finding your home and finding this community in a place where neither of you really thought you'd ever be back in?
Yeah, I think it's been tough, you know, and it's been kind of shocking because we've had a lot of, I don't know what the saying is, but like we've had a lot of like strangers support us more than like the people that we thought would first stand up and support us. I think that everyone can kind of relate to that. It's also been exhilarating. It's been very exciting to be kind of this trailblazer and this underdog in the Pride community. I mean, it is exciting. And so,
It's a lot of different emotions and, it's kind of just a roller coaster every day, but it is like so cool and so moving. All the messages that we get that are like these amazing stories of people that are just finally feeling comfortable being themselves. And then it's so weird for me to have people that have like we were close to, we trusted, and then they will still say like, no, we support you guys no matter what. But that's not really what's happening. It's not support. It's, I wish you would be a little quieter. I, I'm not going to share this that you're sharing. I'm only going to share
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Like our business has definitely stopped being recommended as much. I would probably like 60% less tags
Wow.
Wow.
on social media recommending us and just weird comments from people. And then I have screenshots to send our security PR team of, the people that are in our community sharing about Pride Kelso and how we're targeting innocent children and all the things. But
So ridiculous.
overall, it's just kind of cool to be. Hey, I'm trying to remember. We were on our way somewhere. We had just gotten done watching a bunch of documentaries, and Shana was like, "Isn't it so cool that we're gay?"
I
I think
love
so.
that. Yeah.
I know, well, I'm always like that person that's just, I like to live in the moment because these are the only moments that we're going to get in this lifetime. I'm always like, babe, like imagine when we're old and we're going to be like, we founded the first Pride for Keller and Southlake. Like, how cool is that? And like, never would I have thought that our business journey not only like our business journey, but our personal and life journey and marriage journey would have gotten us to this point. Just so cool. And I was like reminiscing and just being appreciative of those things. So
Yeah. And I mean, even on your social media pages, I'm seeing people, even this morning, I saw someone post about how they're relocating to the area, and actually seeing on the community pages the Pride Kelso event being publicized, like that excited them. It made them feel comfortable that they were moving into a space that did have some diversity of thinking and life, as they once, I think they said they once upon a time lived there. So seeing that difference is really making a change, and it's inspiring. And I know my husband and I are coming in for the event. I've seen other people post saying that they're coming in from the places they've moved away to come back and be part of it, because it's a huge thing. And growing up there, I didn't see any LGBTQ plus representation. I do not exaggerate when I say that I did not know one gay person in that time frame. So when you think back to your younger years, like, was there anyone who really helped like cultivate this place that you've come to? Because I know you've both had careers in other spaces, but now that you are in this place in your life, like, do you look back and think, wow, this person saw this in me? Or has this place that you've gotten been something that's been like forced and you have figured it out as you've gone along?
For me, there are several people in my life that helped me get to this point. I mean, I found the lesbians in high school. I wasn't like out with them to my family at least, but definitely just, I always kind of found the unique ones that weren't so judgy when I was growing up. I was a very wild teenager too. It was wild.
So you
Well, you're a
attracted.
PK, right? You're a preacher's kid, right? I mean,
My stepdad, yes, my former stepdad, my mom got divorced a few years ago, but yes, he was a Southern Baptist preacher. So
I really live in that role.
Leaned in.
yes, I could tell you some stories. I went hot tubbing in the baptismal tub many times.
Oh, yes,
Oh
yes.
my God. Okay, we're going to do an After Dark in the Church episode.
But I think that, and then, I went back in the closet so many times after I did finally come out to the world, and I had family very much against me. I was just like in a 10-year, very traumatic, very emotionally, mentally abusive marriage to a man. And I started like at the end of that marriage, the last few years, working with a therapist that we still see today, and then a life coach, and just started to get bolder. I think the job I had at that time when that happened also really helped, because even though I will never go back and work for that company, it was like weird in a way that I could not describe, even if you gave me a couple hours, but it was empowering to me to just be who I was.
Yeah.
And make that. I remember I was on a Zoom with my life coach while I was at work one day, and I was like, I'm getting out. I'm filing for divorce, but I have this plan, and it's going to be, end of August, early September, and this was in probably April or May. It was in May. And then the next week we got on our Zoom call, and I was like, I filed for divorce. He was like, "What happened with the plan?"
Yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
hit
I think
fast forward.
you talk about, living authentically and being your authentic self. And I think that's so important. It's something that's always been really important to me, and something that, I also had to struggle with from growing up in a religious kind of background that was, at times a little bit extreme in places, and definitely being taught that I had to be a certain way, and the way that I was thinking wasn't acceptable. And just everybody growing up is trying to figure out who they are and separate what they know from who they really are. And I think I ran from that for a long time. And it wasn't until really probably the pandemic where all of a sudden everything got kind of quiet. Right? All of this like stuff that we filled our lives with sort of became much more quiet, that I really had to start grappling with that. But I think so many people can relate, like really everybody can probably relate on some level to this like inner struggle of how do I be my authentic self? How do I figure out who my authentic self is? And then how do I live as my authentic self? And what will that cost me? And will it be worth it? And I think oftentimes we build up in our head like this, because it's human nature to fight against change, right? We just want like a sense of stability and normalcy. And I battle that in myself because I both want change and excitement and new at the same time as wanting stable. Those things don't like coexist with each other
Right.
usually. But it is, I think, something that so many people can relate to, whether they're a part of the LGBTQ plus community or not, having to figure out, how do I live as my authentic self? And then what does that mean for who I feel like I've been told I'm supposed to be?
And
What is,
it reminded me, I have to tell
yeah,
you before I forget, that reminded me. So one of the things that also was a catalyst for me, just like I'm just done with this pretending, was reading Glennon Doyle's book Untamed. And when we were listening to y'all's podcast the other day, I heard you bring that book up. I was like, yes, or Glennon Doyle at least. Yes, that book was life changing for me, and mainly seeing like how everybody every belief that you have comes from just what you've been exposed to and who you've been around.
yeah.
And so it's like Glennon Doyle, I love her to death. I can't really listen to her podcast much, but I love her to
Yeah.
and that book was truly life changing for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's love when people reach within themselves and get vulnerable and share, because what we find so often is that something that we think is very isolating, that we feel like is very much just relevant to us, like once you become vulnerable and you put it out there, you realize, wow, a lot of other people can relate to this in some way. You know, it's kind of like that saying that you probably heard a lot growing up in the church, just like I did, you shall know the truth and the truth will set you free. But like just the kind of wisdom of that, of if we hide the truth, we hide our true selves, then we are kind of trapped. So I love that you both have been on this journey to figure out like, who is the person that I really am, and then how do I create a space where I start to live as my true self, because it's freeing, which is amazing. So, speaking of, what is one piece of advice that you would offer to someone who is a part of the LGBTQ plus community, who is younger and they're growing up in a community like Keller or Southlake, where, you know, you don't see the pride flags hanging around, you don't see a lot of visible support, and in fact, what you may be hearing is, you know, kind of the oppression or the opposition of support. What advice would you offer them?
Oh man, that's a difficult one because everyone's coming out story is different, and that's their own story. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can't tell someone when it's the right time to come out because only you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We each have our own story, but I mean, I would just say be yourself, and I think that when you know that it's a safe place for you to come out, and then obviously I think that there are people like us in this community that even if you don't have people in your own family that love you and support you, you can find people like us, even if it's on social media. We'll read all the messages, we will respond, we will meet up with you. But there are several people, I think, in the community that can provide that support and even resources with the LGBTQ community that we've recently, been more involved in and have found a lot of those. So I would just encourage more involvement. And then, yeah, just being, yourself whenever you feel like the time is right. Because I know that that was something that I struggled with. I think that I always knew that I was a little weird in school and like in high school. And I knew that I was gay a lot younger. But growing up somewhere like Keller, everyone is more preppy and more about the popular things. And I always knew that I was different. But I was always my most authentic self in that way. But I couldn't be open about my sexuality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my major struggle, and I didn't come out until I was probably like 23 or so.
Yeah.
And so it was a struggle that I had my whole life, but like once I was able to come out, it was just like this weight lifted off my shoulders, and I've never felt more free, you know.
I love that.
Yeah. But I think one thing is like do find your people, because they do exist. It's been so crazy for Shana and I both. I think that we both lived in this little bubble, and like we've talked about, we didn't know there were more gay people around here. And our first kind of realization that the gay scene around here and the gay community around here was way more than just the clubs in Dallas, was after we joined the North Texas LGBT Chamber and went to events. And I mean, we were standing at this event, it's called the Gay Professionals Network, and we were like, we've never been around this many gay people in our like, unless it was at a club,
Yeah.
And was like a professional setting, which is another thing. Like, this is what we're taught, is that is weird, and it couldn't possibly exist, but it does exist. And so like, just plug in a little bit, and then you'll start to get more and more evidence that it is normal.
I love that.
You're not weird for your sexuality, even though we think being weird is pretty cool.
I mean, like, what is normal anyways, right? It's a trend or a fad that changes over time. So we're so fixated as human beings, like, it's just neuroscience, on being normal, and normal changes. So like, how frustrating is that? And so I think when we have the courage to be our authentic self and just stand up and start living for what we really believe and who we really are, then it is magnetic, and you start to see, wow, like, look at all these other people that are like me. We might actually be more normal.
Yeah.
And I think to that note, it's not always safe and it's not always comfortable for people to come out. But if you're just on the verge of like having that bravery and it's not going to cost you your safety, I think it is so important to kind of push yourself out of that comfort zone and come out, because then you're inspiring more people to be themselves and allowing them to see that it is okay. Unfortunately, especially people that are in a position of being successful, people in our community need to see that. They need to see that what the stereotypes are around the LGBT community are not real. They need to see that they can have a safe space.
Well, and I know part of my like coming out story was like researching and trying to prepare myself, and part of that was like, how can I prepare myself for the way that people are going to react and how they're going to engage with me? Because like, I totally hear what everyone is saying about like, I like being the weird one, and like, what is normal when you're in high school? Like, at least for me, I just wanted to get through it. Like, I did not want to stand out. I did not. And now all of these years later, like, I was going to school with someone who now identifies as transgender. I was going to school with other people who came out as the LGBTQ plus community as well. Like, and when I have thought back on it, it's like, wow, imagine all of that stuff that we were all going through in our own, like, our quiet battles, right? And the secrecy that we were trying to keep because we didn't want anyone to find this stuff out about us. And in maybe some instances, people were still trying to figure out, who they were. But like, man, I would have loved to have someone else to talk to not feel so afraid, to not, because when you think you're the only one, it's like, oh my gosh, I hear the things that they call people. I see the way they act towards people who walk a certain way, dress a certain way, and I don't want to be that person. I love how you said, like, it's a personal journey. It is one that you have, when you are ready for, go on it. But that doesn't mean you can't start like learning and getting the opportunity to connect with people who are different within the community. You may just have to seek that out a little bit. And I think this event, Pride Kelso, is like a perfect example of how it can show. It's like almost a beacon, if you will, that this community does exist here and it is wanted and needed. So thank you both.
I want to share a story real quick because it was a really cool moment. So Liz Dyer, she's the founder of Real Mama Bears. And she's our featured speaker at Pride Kelso. Real Mama Bears wrote a letter to the Schitt's Creek cast that they read in their final episode in all bold. And she's in Southlake. And so we have gone to a few of their events, and we were at the first one with them. And one of the moms was sharing about like how she came to be there, and her kid was trans, and basically walked up to her and said, you need to go educate yourself and figure this out. So here's some organizations, go find them. And I was like, your kid did that? Like, how amazing is that? That your kid did that? And she was like, and here I am. And, you know, like so many of those moms have left the church. And like, I do want to say, like, this whole journey and this being on church property and actually us partnering with several churches in this area has given me a whole new perspective on churches, but I also understand that these moms of churches that would not be a part of this, if given the chance. And so like just the bravery of these moms, I think, to just support their kids and move away from the churches and just allies in general. I think Real Mama Bears isn't just moms. You know, Shana messaged a few people that are close friends of ours, and we were like, we really wish that you would seek out something like this, because they are friends that, you know, say that they support us and then make comments that sound the opposite of support. You know, and like, again, the like y'all are being too loud thing, when it's just so needed. So I think that organizations like that, and it's not just advice for LGBT, it's advice for the A, for allies, that they really could step up, because I mean, just honestly, I don't think that if it was LGBT people only trying to make change, I don't think the change would be made. We have to have allies that are willing to sit and understand to the best of their ability. We will never understand something that is not us, but we can inquire about it. We can get curious. We can ask questions, because assumptions are the most dangerous thing.
Yeah. Well, and when we look back at history, I get goosebumps when I think about this. I am not at all a history buff. That would be like Ace and Chris even. But when you look back at like history of the movement around like any of the marginalized groups. So if you look back at women being able to have an equitable place in society, which is so much more normalized, and yet we're still fighting for, because it's a journey that just keeps moving. And you think about like racial differences and the constant fight that's going on there, like none of that progress that's been made to date would be possible without allyship. And because when you are the oppressed, like you need the support of others to be able to help stand behind you and be that force that helps push you forward and helps, you know, change the minds of those who they are in the in-group with. You know, if you think about like that in-group, out-group thinking, Dr. David D. Rock talks about that. And I think it's just such a relevant topic that stays front of mind for me. If you haven't heard of him, he founded the Neuro Leadership Institute, and he does a lot of like corporate culture work that's founded in like how our brains actually process things and how like the chemical reaction that's happening within your brain to better understand. One of the things he talks about is in-group and out-group thinking, and how we are like, that's a part of our nature. Once you understand it, then you can start to recognize, I certainly do this for myself. I go, well, wait, this person said this, and I just immediately feel like I don't agree with it. But why is that? Is that just because they're in this out-group? And am I just doing the same thing that I'm getting frustrated about other people doing? And I kind of have to keep myself in check. But I do think that's so important for us to be thinking about and kind of have top of mind, because we're not going to create the kind of meaningful, lasting change if we don't have that allyship to really come in and help support.
Yeah, I think it's especially important for obviously people with the privilege that we don't have to speak up, because your voice is heard 2 times more than ours is. And then if you take me, for instance, I'm biracial, so mine's heard half as less as everyone else's is, plus being a lesbian on top of that. And so those are just the things. But I think that if someone's a true ally and they're willing to speak up and use that privilege, use it in the right way. You know, use it in a way that can make an impact and make a change for a community like ours, if it's really something that you stand by and believe in.
Yeah, and I've even gotten like emotional, and probably will right now, over like, I understand I have different privilege than Shana has, and that like I am just a basic white bitch. There's nothing basic about me, but I do have different privileges. I am a high D on the disc. I am more feminine presenting. I think also that comes with different struggles as a lesbian around straight men that I have to deal with. I very much understand that I do come from a place of higher privilege than others. And so my voice is the loudest right now, but it's because it can be heard more. Like people are more willing to listen. And it sucks just that way. It sucks that it's actually, you know what? It's interesting because people assume that Shayna's April when they see her, but I'm like people that have seen us online only and then they meet us in person and they're like, "Hey April, I'm friends with you on Facebook." Shayna's like, "I'm not April."
I'm not April. I'm actually Shana.
More intimidating than me. They don't think that this little white girl could ever talk like that. There's different facets to it for sure.
Yeah,
I do think Chris and I have spent some time talking about this, and really is he and I spent time through Pride Month this year in our podcast, really diving into a lot of these topics. One of the things that I had shared with him is, as an ally, I was really, and I didn't even realize this, it was kind of under the surface, I was really struggling with, like, I don't feel like it's my place. I don't feel like it's my place to speak up because I'm not a part of the community. So I shouldn't really have a say. I shouldn't really be talking about it. What if I say something wrong? What if I use the wrong, acronym because I feel like it's evolved over time, which is really good, but I don't want to offend anybody. And I don't want people that are a part of the community to say, well, look at that basic white girl who can't relate to us. And like, what is she even doing talking about this? In conversation with Chris, one of the things that I started to understand is, to your point, like, it's so important that allies get involved. It's so important that they show up. This Kelso Pride event is for the community, but it is also for allies because that's how we show up and support the people that we know and love and that are our friends. And that's how we make this community, a place that really is inviting and open and welcoming. And I know for me, that has been like, I've really had to change the way that I think about things because I thought, well, I just don't want to offend anyone. And I don't know that this is my place. And it was really interesting to find myself thinking that because I'm surrounded by people within my family, my friend group, my work group who are a part of the community. And so I thought, well, yeah, like of course I'm an ally. Like, look at all these people in my life who I accept, who, I am a safe place for. And what I have learned on this journey is that being that is sometimes not enough. And it's not just something we should do, but it's something that we must do.
I want to say something to that too, because even within the LGBTQ plus community, we have to be allies to each other.
Yeah.
We are lesbians. We are not all the other letters of the alphabet.
Yeah.
They all need protection in the same way, and so we are very passionate about being allies for the other parts of our community. So,
Yep.
Shayna wears a shirt that says protect the dolls because our trans women are facing horrible backlash right now that we could never imagine. Like what we face is nothing in comparison to that right now. We are pretty passionate right now about, bringing awareness to what gay men are facing in PrEP possibly being stripped away from them, which is going to eradicate the gay community, which I think is probably the purpose of our administration wanting to strip that away. So just we're all allies, even within the community. I mean, lesbians are kind of the best allies within that because that's why the L's works now.
It's important to know that, like, even within our community, like, that's a fear that we have too, Jen, is that, we make mistakes too. Like, we don't understand everything fully, but I think it's about going in there with an open mind and, like, truly being open. And, like, it's also about where your heart's at too. And from just the short amount of time that I've gotten to know you guys, your heart's in the right place. And I think that that's all that matters. And as long as you're willing to learn, but we do need you guys present for us. You know what I mean? That's more important than anything. And the rest you can learn.
Yeah. Well, and you don't really start to understand a community until you get involved in it. Like when you're on the outside looking in, you're only seeing what is observable. You're not hearing the stories, you're not experiencing the struggle, you are observing it. And I think that's like such a big difference. Like someone who wants to come cast judgment on the LGBTQIA plus community, yet does not have anyone that is in it, has not experienced it or any of that stuff. Like, what is this all based on? Like things that you're being told? Like, I don't know. Just to me, if you're going to have opinions, like go educate yourself and make them educated opinions, because like so many lies about this community are constantly being spread to villainize us, and it's infuriating. We have to find balance and let that frustration turn into the courage and kind of that motivation to, great, how am I going to make a change? How am I going to show up to help people? And I do want to talk a little bit, because Jen and I have spoken about this a few times throughout Pride Month, the difference of being tolerated and being accepted within communities. Because I think a lot of times people will be like, oh yeah, I have gay friends, or I support the LGBTQ plus community, but then there's not really a, great, where's the proof? Like, and not that we ever ask that, right? Like, we're not, well, show me the receipts. But as you all have been going through this, you spoke earlier about how your business has you've seen an impact on your business since kind of spearheading a Kelso Pride. What are your thoughts on this? Like this idea between tolerance and acceptance, and within the communities that you're currently operating in, both like with Kelso Pride, but I know you're involved in much larger things within North Texas as well.
Yeah, I want to start by saying another thing, Jen, that you brought up in one of those episodes was the Netflix show or You Can't Ask That.
Yes.
So part of the documentary that is being made about Pride Kelso will have an aspect of that kind of thing with different.
Love that.
I love that. I mean, it's like just makes it so it humanizes.
Yes.
Something
like
that,
episode on children of gay parents was just like great. But I think that, yes, so many people make assumptions and they don't realize the assumptions that they're making, because again, all of us live in this world where we have been told what is real and what is not from generations and generations of people before us. So I think that we've been using a lot of like acceptance versus affirming. You know, acceptance is a church that like allows a gay couple to sit in church on Sunday and give them money, but they won't allow that gay couple to get married in their church. And, you know, acceptance is people that love to be around us and, you know, say that they know us when it's brought up in some social circle, but like they have completely stopped referring us as soon as we bring up something that matters to our community. It gets uncomfortable for them. And it's not just straight people. There are gay people that we have pissed off. I think it's hard for me, and I haven't really processed everything I need to process around it, because my whole journey over the last year has made me see what really is acceptance and what isn't. I mean, I'm sure y'all have seen my post about my story and my mom, like, you know, my mom's like, what? I accept you. We invite Shana over to things. And I'm like, cool, but you don't share anything about my life. You don't tell anybody about your daughter and her wife. You don't, like, you're not proud of anything that I'm accomplishing right now. And you don't make Shana feel comfortable in that space. It's just, acceptance isn't just allowing somebody into your space. It's allowing your space for who they are without changing how you interact with them or support them.
I think a lot of people, when we think about allyship, which applies to many things beyond the LGBTQ plus community, and I think this statement, it applies to kind of all allyship. A lot of people think, yeah, I'm an ally, but I'm not the one that has to get uncomfortable, because it's not my situation. It's not my life. And so they show up in allyship up to the point that they are comfortable. Yeah. And if we're not willing to get uncomfortable, to advocate for for something that we believe is right, then change doesn't happen, because change happens at the edges or often outside of your comfort zone. And, I think that for me was something that I hadn't really put words to, but that was like an aha moment once I found the right words to put to it of, well, like, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Okay, good. Like, I'm supposed to. Just because this isn't something that impacts me personally, right? I mean, it certainly impacts much of my circle, and so it impacts me, but just because it's not about my life doesn't mean that I'm just supposed to be comfortable in the midst of all of this. We can't make change if we
Yeah.
are just sitting in a place of comfort.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I can think of too is when we first started networking, and then when everything was going on with the political climate now too, people were coming up to us and were like, oh, don't worry, you and Shana will always be married to each other in my eyes. And I'm like, that's not the point though. That's so far from the point. Like that
Yeah.
that's not affirming, that's accepting, that's tolerating.
Of us, because
Yeah.
we fit a mold that is acceptable to them, but
Right.
that doesn't help the rest of our community.
Yeah,
Right.
and so I think to me, like true allyship and true affirmation is like speaking up and showing up is what I like to say. And I don't know, I think that's what it takes, and that's truly what it is. But I think that we've realized a lot lately and been able to see who's truly affirming, like in our families and even in our friend groups and even as strangers, and surprisingly more strangers are more affirming than we ever would have thought.
Yeah. I think, as we talk about this, it feels to me like when we define community and what community is, that's really what it's about, right? Is showing up for people and creating a space where we don't just tolerate, but we really like come together to make space and build equality together. So talk about how Kelso Pride ties into that.
I think that it has been such a whirlwind that I am just shocked by every day, that this community is very different than I would have imagined it looked like a few months ago. And the community right now, I think around here with LGBTQ plus, with, including our allies, with everybody, is looking like massive support, with like friendships being formed that, you would have never guessed these people would come together and be friends, with, businesses that are willing to stand up and are getting business based on their stance, while they're also kind of dealing with some backlash and some of their business going away. I think it's creating a new normal. And I think that part of it, I have to give credit to something that happened way before, not way before, but before Pride Kelso, which is the Keller ISD school board elections.
Oh boy, that was a trip, wasn't it?
And just the way that so many people themselves felt like they could have a voice suddenly. And so are standing up and speaking up in ways that they would have not felt empowered to do before, because of what the school board elections brought to light. And people see more and more how much we've just been lied to forever. But I think there's such a huge community here, and we also have different communities. We have our networking for business communities. We have our Pride Kelso community, which is gorgeous and also does well for all of our businesses, for everybody that's in there, because we love to support each other. But that community is just about loving each other for who we are. And it is full of way more allies than I would have ever expected. I mean, it's the most beautiful thing to me is how many allies are in there, how many parents of trans children in Southlake and Keller are in there, how many church members are in there. I don't know. It's a community I never would have expected. And again, I have not fully processed everything that's happening right now.
I mean, I don't even live there, and just hearing you say all this, my mind is blown. Like I never would have guessed, and like all of that is there, like
Chris, I can't
supporting
wait
each
for
other.
you to come back and see it.
I'm very interested to walk through and see, because I had an opportunity. I was very much so involved in the community whenever I was living in Keller. And so I'm very interested to see like who shows up and who has a presence. And because I didn't see it, I didn't see that. And I just like, again, want to say like, it's just proof about like telling your story and being that light to attract people is so important. And the bravery that it's taken for both of you, and Jen and I have talked about bravery, and I think you both are very brave to be doing this. I think you are community builders for stepping up and pulling people together to embrace this, because that comes with the good and the bad. And you continue to smile and you continue to push forward and continue to make connections to make this thing actually come to life. So I I am so excited to come see all and hear about all of these people who you are speaking of that I did not know when I lived there. I do want to talk a little bit about the event itself, if that's okay. I know that I've seen you all share that the Oaklawn Band is going to be present, which has deep roots within the LGBTQIA plus community in Dallas, because that's where a lot of the gay community calls home or has the brightest light, I guess, if you will. So what does their participation in this event mean to the two of you? But then also like what in the broader North Texas Pride scene, like what is that impact?
So the Oaklawn Band actually happened because we doing sponsorship coordination, including like in-kind sponsorship coordination, and all of the like curation for Badge of Pride's exhibit VIP grand opening night. And we had reached out to them for that. Now it was in June, in Pride Month, with only like a few weeks away from the date. So of course they were completely booked up. And so, in the midst of all of that planning was when Pride Kelso came to be. And so we responded and we're like, so we know you couldn't do the Badge of Pride night, but would you possibly be willing to come to Pride Kelso? And they said yes, pretty immediately. I think it means so much. If you're not from here, it might be a little hard to understand the difference between Dallas County and Tarrant County and how very little of like the key players in the LGBT community come over to the Tarrant County side.
West side, best side.
Yeah, it's hyper conservative, like Keller, Southlake.
Yeah.
Really.
And especially the Oaklawn Band. Like, this is a huge, they are the gayborhood. Like, Oaklawn is the gayborhood in Dallas.
Yeah.
So when they said yes, I mean, I think, just blown away. I just couldn't believe that they said yes and they were going to come do this. And I mean, I think that this is it's going to be a game changer for creating more positive change on the Tarrant County side, because it will help us be taken more seriously with the gay community, and it will help people on the Tarrant County side see that like we are so much more than what you think we are as a Pride event. Yeah. We are not what you have in your head about what a Pride event is, and they are helping create.
So you've teed up the next question perfectly for me. For someone who might be attending Pride for the first time, maybe they're a little bit apprehensive, even feeling a little bit unsure of what to expect. What is this event? Can you describe what this Pride Kelso event is, what somebody can expect when they show up? Oftentimes, if you haven't been, you hear about like Pride parades and you're like, is this a parade? Like, what's going on? What am I showing up for?
This is a music and arts festival with lots of rainbows. Friendly music and arts festival with lots of rainbows. So we do have the Oaklawn Band is opening us up. And then we have the Bikini Whales. They're a B-52's cover band that will be playing. We have a singer that we saw. It is a trans woman, which I think is important to her story, is why I'm saying that. But she sang a very impactful song at an interfaith concert that we went to that I believe, I still have to confirm, but she said she would. We'll be performing the song that impacted us greatly. And then Liz Dyer of Real Mama Bears will be speaking. We are wrapping it up with a drag show.
Amazing.
We've been on a journey with the drag show side of things. So there was always going to be a drag show. That was not a question. We originally were going to have it inside. If anybody's from around here, you may remember a business in Roanoke that did a drag show, and there was a lot of controversy around that, a lot of ugliness towards the people that were attending, and it was on a patio. So the ugliness had access to that. So we're going to do it inside. And then we met with just several people in the community over the last several months. And one of them, it's the Help Center for LGBTQ Health in Fort Worth and Arlington. They're also the founders of Arlington Pride. And when we met with them, they talked about when they were getting Arlington Pride off the ground and how the mayor was like, no drag show. And they were like, I'm sorry, no, like, there's a reason the drag shows exist at Pride events because of what drag queens did for our community. Like, they saved us, they created change for us. And then the mayor said, okay, well, you've got to keep it 18 and up. And they're like, no, because that's saying there's something wrong with it, and there's nothing wrong with it. So after that conversation, we're like, this has to be outdoors. We're not hiding this. Yeah. There is nothing wrong with it. It's going to be the last thing of the night. So for anybody that does want to leave, they can leave and have still enjoyed, 3 hours of Pride Kelso. But that was just a reflection that we had. And I will give my wife credit. She was always on the side of this needs to be outside. And it was me that had reservations with good intentions, but
yeah, and we're doing a cool thing with that. I don't know if you guys have seen, we're here, but we are actually, with the drag show, we're making over 3 members of our community.
I love that.
Say the one.
Yeah, but we are making over 3 members of the community, and we'll let you guys see who they are when you get there. But I think that that's such the cool portion of what we're doing, and it's something different than just a drag show, to have a drag show. It's so important, and that's going to be kind of a majority of the documentary that we'll be releasing for that too. So
I love that.
One of them is Sharon, the founder of LGBTQ Saves. She is going to do drag for us because she loves us, and I convinced her. But we're making it, a super family-friendly event because we know the environment that we're in. And we already have 104 vendors, including a lot of resources for the community and for,
that is amazing.
That are going to be there because we know that that's a huge part. And just coming from my own experience living here, what this event would have meant to me, and being able to just go there and attend, even if I wasn't fully out, but be able to get the information from the resources that are out there for youth, I think would have been so cool and eye-opening, and maybe would have, allowed me to be myself a lot sooner than I was able to be.
Even knowing that there were resources.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't really know.
We had no idea until probably the past 6 months is when we really realized how many resources there are out there.
Right?
104 vendors. Like, this is going to be even bigger than I imagined. I am so excited.
October 4th from 2 to 6 p.m. And we'll have a VIP tent there for anyone that wants to purchase tickets. We'll have a kids area, a teens area, and then obviously
there's a lot of workshops going on.
Area.
So the mental health professionals, which I think we're at 12 mental health professionals with vendor tables now, they're all like working together to plan some workshops throughout the event. They're going to have like a little safe hub for anybody that just needs a mental health break to go sit and have snacks. And we've got yoga workshops going on through part of it. We've got, and that's the other thing with the drag show. Like, if you don't want to go to the drag show, there's going to be some workshop going on that you can go to instead. There's a therapeutic dance workshop that'll be happening, but just all sorts of stuff, food vendors. And I mean,
it's amazing. So admission is free, right? And then there's a VIP experience. You can get the purchase tickets to the VIP event. You are still taking sponsors and vendors, right?
We are. So regular vendor tables were sold out.
Okay.
We are reserving the rest of ours for sponsors. So
and what's the drop dead date for that? What's the deadline for
I mean, honestly, the drop dead date is September 1st, but the earlier, the better for like planning reasons, but also, I mean, honestly, like we're in the events business and we have to be respectful of these vendors that we have to have that need their deposits.
Yeah.
And October is the busiest month of the year for events. So losing the vendors that we know are crucial to this, that are good vendors that will,
Make this.
deliver on what Pride Kelso needs from an aesthetic standpoint and, a, an execution standpoint is very important to us. So the sooner the better. We do have a fundraising event coming up August 24th, drag bingo at a venue in Irving that we're really excited about. We met one of the venue owners at a North Texas LGBT happy hour event, and him and his wife are just like great allies for the community. And it's like, you can use this venue for a fundraiser and all of our AV, so we can get sponsors for that too, and you can have your logo just all over the walls.
I love that. Chris,
everything.
I think we were talking about you coming back in town in August.
August 24th.
Maybe if the stars align, we can go to bingo.
Maybe.
That would be fun.
I'm really excited. I think we posted it 2 days ago, and there's 40 something tickets sold, and
that's amazing.
Awesome. I do want to talk a little bit about security, because I know that in previous conversations and then hearing about the other event in Roanoke, you posted a beautiful thank you. I don't know what you want to call it, to Alpha and Omega Mounted Patrol. I know that having seen posts prior to that and that one, it seems like this was a really big win for y'all. Would you mind talking a little bit about who they are and why it was so important for y'all?
Yes. Well, we came across them. We were actually going out. We were planning a day to go out and knock on doors of some bigger businesses within Southlake that we could approach for sponsorships. And so I was doing a lot of research and came across Alpha and Omega Mounted Patrol. And every time I came across a business, I would Google, is this business supportive of the LGBT community? Couldn't find anything about them really. Then I went on Facebook and just typed in Alpha and Omega Mounted Patrol, and the North Texas Gay Rodeo had made a post saying that they were looking to hire some people within the gay community to do mounted patrol, and that they were actually very welcoming and affirming. And so we both kind of tried to reach out to the founder, Frank Keller, for a while, and then he did get back to us. Turns out they really are cool business. They've done Bonnaroo. They do huge festivals. So of course we couldn't get a hold of him overnight. Once he got in touch with us, he's like, absolutely, we want to help in any way we can. Come meet with us. And so we did. And it is when I hear Alpha and Omega, I don't automatically think affirming. It's been so cool to sit and have conversations with them, because I'd never cried. I spent 20 years of my life not crying, and I cry all the time now. And
healthy. That's probably healthy.
You're making up for those 20 years.
I was such a different person 3 years ago, even. But when I'm getting emotional and talking about the messages we've gotten from people in the community and what it means, and Chris, you probably have more awareness, but Jen, you've probably experienced this too. You can tell when people are like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when they're really I'm sorry, and I see you and I feel what you are going through. They were like, I feel what you were going through. And it has been this whole, I don't even know who I think people are anymore. It's so weird. I just never guessed this. I said that I am not the same person I was 3 years ago. I'm not the same person I was yesterday even, but I was very much hardcore corporate badass that did not let my walls down at all. We're talking steel walls you've never seen before. Anybody that we know today would not recognize me as that person. I was just so very different. but it was like through all the things that we talked about as far as like therapy and life coach and Glennon Doyle's book, and Shana, and just it has given me such a different perspective. And so, we have through networking and just being surrounded by a lot of people all the time and people opening up to us, and there's like no judgment because we definitely have made comments like, can you believe that person did that?
Yeah. It's like in our nature, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yes. But it feels good when we have the opportunity to, when somebody is sharing their grievances with us about somebody else, go, but I get that. I get why you felt this way and I understand why you feel that way, but also
yeah,
imagine what they're feeling on their side. Because I mean, the world thought that I was just an intimidating bitch that hated everyone a few
can
years.
relate to that.
And
I can't see that about you at all, but I can relate to that.
that's because I'm not the same person. Although sometimes I do still get that. But, but that wasn't the truth. That wasn't what was really in my heart. I just, I was hyper focused on work to distract myself from my
Yep.
reality.
Yeah.
And so I came across that way to people. And we all have insecurities. We all have different things that impact how we move in the world. And sometimes we all get in on the gossip train because it's the only way we feel we can fit in with somebody. So just getting to that point myself and then getting to help other people see different perspectives has been really cool for me.
Yeah. So you talked about having the mounted patrol here. So obviously safety is something that you were thinking about for Kelso Pride. In an event like this, where you're in a community that does have a lot of support, but it's kind of a polarizing topic. And there are also people who show up very loudly, not in support of an event like this. How do you think about safety and creating a safe space where everyone feels welcome to show up and participate?
We are requiring registration.
Yeah, and I think to Chris's point earlier too, I think that's why it was such a huge win for us because we know that since we don't have the city of Southlake support or the city of Keller support like every
Which
other
I want to
pride
touch on
does,
after
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
we do have their support in some ways, but obviously we're not doing it on public property, so we don't have obviously that type of support is what I want to say and clarify on. But I think that's why it is so huge because if we do want this to grow to something that, hey, we are willing to get the city's support on if they change their mind or whatever that looks like in the future, um, that's the most important thing right now. Security and safety is the most important, and for it to go right and aesthetically pleasing, with everything that we have as far as vendors involved, but security and safety is the most important. And if we can look as professional and be as professional as we can be with those things and everything, us basically have our shit together.
Yeah.
That's really the most important thing for us for this event. And so to get them on our side and willing to do everything that they've been able to do is huge for us, especially since we're so small. We're not a Bonnaroo yet.
Yeah. Yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
So,
Yet.
By the time, if we get to that point, when we get to that point, we are stepping back as the founder. Let somebody else take over that. That's a lot. But
That's
I
when you
think
put a board together to have them come together.
Before you talk about city support, so for people that may be feeling like, hey, I don't know if Keller or Southlake is a super open community. I don't know if I should go to the event because I'm not sure if it's going to be safe. What would you want them to know about what you're doing to create a safe place?
we are, one, I want everybody to know, like, we don't have any, like, real evidence that we will have protesters, but we are fully prepared for that and to keep them out. Alpha and Omega has put together like a 20-page security operations plan that is, for safety under wraps for the most part. But we have, there's offsite parking, which will have security there. There is, you have to register to enter the event. Shuttles will bring you from offsite parking directly into the private parking lot of St. Martin. And
everyone, including vendors, will have to go through a security check, just for safety reasons.
Yeah.
So we're really doing everything and anything that any other big festival or pride event would do, just for safety reasons.
I mean, it sounds like more so. I mean, none of those things are in place, like to go to the New York City Pride. Like, you just get to show up on the side of the street. No one's checking you. So
Yeah.
And I appreciate the even forethought that, protesters could or could not, whether there is proof or evidence, not like, you're truly thinking about the total experience, which you have done a great job talking about. So thank you so much for sharing those things, because if you've not gone to one before, it can be intimidating.
Yeah, and I completely understand that. And just like, this is 13 acres that we're on, and no one on that 13 acres will be on it without having gone through registration and going through security. So
that's great. That's great.
Everything that we can to ensure the safety, because it is so important to us. We know, especially right now, there's a lot of uncertainty there. And we've thought through a lot of things, like, where can we do certain things, like the kids area, like how do we best protect them from, like, where can we place that kids area that best protects them from the noise?
Yeah.
And how do we block certain areas so that the people that might be against us don't really get to infiltrate that fun. This is literally just a music and arts festival to show that, like, everybody is loved and accepted here, and it's nothing more than that, other than a lot of really fun rainbows.
And what I will say too, to those that are hesitant on coming out because of those things, like, our community has been through a lot more than some protesters making some noise in the corner or some rain that happens. Yep. So there's no doubt in my mind that we can go through that for something like this, and especially an event like this that is going to make a impact and imprint on our community.
Yeah. Like, yes, you said rain. That was another thing that we kind of leaned on the Help Center for, because we recently got asked the question from a vendor, like, what happens if it rains? And so I asked Help Center, I was like, what was y'all's plan? I said, our initial reaction is rain or shine, we're doing this. And they're like, yeah, that's the plan. Like, our community has dealt with so much more than rain.
Yeah, bring an umbrella.
Yeah. We're doing it regardless. Like, we're not moving this giant production.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. There will be a group of people that will be monitoring lightning. So if there does happen to be lightning, and we will obviously move people indoors until that passes. But we're going to have amazing, like, this is all meant to be. So I'm just, like, putting it out in the universe.
This is, like, what I love about you using your gifts as event planners, which Chris and I have previously talked about, is neither of our gifts. There will be no Hallmark movie where we go plan the local Christmas parade event, because neither of us are capable of doing that. Nope. But, like, you guys using your gift that you have, and your knowledge and your understanding and your expertise, to be able to bring this event together, versus, somebody who really wants to make this happen but doesn't have all of that experience. Like, you can see that in saying, look, we have a plan. There is a security detail. We've really thought through what happens if it rains. How do we make this event happen in a way that everybody just gets to show up and enjoy, and nobody has to think about whether or not this is, a thing that's welcome, or if it's going to be dry, but you just get to show up and have a good time.
For sure. And I mean, look, corporate event planning is not festival planning.
Oh, yes.
We have the ability to think through the what ifs. We don't have the knowledge to, like, answer that question, but we know the question, and we have really been fortunate enough to be in contact with people that know what they're doing and can help us navigate the things that we don't know how to do. Corporate events, we will crush it every time from end to end, and we know, like, we're truly experts. Private house parties, we got you. Festivals, we need people like Alpha and Omega. Like, that was such a huge weight lifted off of our shoulders. I think that we both probably slept better that night after we realized everything they were going to do. They're meeting with city officials, they're meeting with police departments, they're, meeting with private security. They're handling so much that we just wouldn't know what to do. They put together our prohibited list, like prohibited items list for us. Like they just, we don't know. I mean, I've never had to put together a list that says clear bags only for
Right.
sales convention.
Oh my gosh. So that is such a great question. Like, clear bags, just heard that. Like, so am I allowed to bring my cooler? Am I allowed to bring my beach bag? Like,
No, and we are working. We will finalize and post the full prohibited list, and but it will be clear bags. There's a size requirement. I could not say it off the top of my head right now. No liquids whatsoever, but we will have free bottled water available for everyone. So that
Nice. So look, it's a free event, and you show up and they give you free water, and
Mhm.
you get a free concert and a free drag show and free workshops, and like you'll probably find a lot of really cool stuff there to
Yes.
buy. Like, why would you not attend?
Very cool. And Snapology is doing like a family building Lego like competition,
oh,
and
that's cool.
which I'm very excited about.
This is going to be amazing. Are there are food trucks and food vendors and stuff there too, right? Yep.
Food trucks and food vendors. So because it is on church property and all ages, the only place, which was just one of the many things that we had to uncomfortably ask the pastor permission for, the only place that alcohol can be consumed is in the VIP tent. But the VIP tickets include the alcohol. So you're not like buying that ticket and then having to purchase extra alcohol.
We will see you in the VIP tent.
Drag queens are going to do like a meet and greet in there. We'll have some hors d'oeuvres and all sorts of fun extra surprises. And there's like lounge furniture in there. It'll be air conditioned. It'll be cool.
Oh, that's definitely where I'll be then.
Like there will be a triage area inside if there are any medical needs. Triage area that will be staffed by Southlake EMTs. So yeah.
Okay, I do have one more question, and it's not on the list, but I am a details person. What is the bathroom situation going to be like?
Yeah, we definitely need to know that.
They're in the church. We have access to 3 stalls for women, 3 stalls for men. One of them's a urinal. The other 2 are regular stalls. And then, I don't know why I know these details. I'm surprised as it's coming out of my mouth that I know this. Then
bathrooms are important. I mean,
they are. So another reason why it's so important, even though it is a free event, to register now is because it helps us with things like this. So we do have a company that's doing an in-kind sponsorship.
Aspen Rentals.
Aspen Rentals.
Just to give them a shout out.
Yes, absolutely. We reached out to them for sponsorship. They responded and said, they could do like an in-kind with porta potties. And we were like, you don't understand how important it is that we have like luxury potty trailers. And it is, because a normal city event can have porta potties and nobody blink an eye. A gay event in Keller, Southlake, you have to, aesthetics matter.
We have very high bars, okay?
We do.
And like porta potties at our event, people would be like, "Oh my god, they're so trashy." See this LGBT
That's
event?
what they're expecting me to go in.
So they did say that they are keeping an eye on the registration numbers so that they can determine how many of the luxury trailers they need to provide for their in-kind. So please, even if you're not doing VIP, you're doing the free, like it helps us if you register now.
And there will be a link in the description to register. So if you are wanting to attend, we'll have links for registration, for sponsorship, for the resources that April and Shaina have shared. So definitely check out the description. So you have both taken on significant leadership roles, leading the way, pulling people out of the crowd in Keller, Southlake, and kind of getting them into this community where they're really showing up. And what does it mean to each of you to create an event like this and to be a founder and like really I'll just say change the way that it feels to live in the Keller Southlake community?
It's so cool. It's probably one of my proudest accomplishments, and kind of like I was saying earlier, I never thought that not only our marriage journey being together in the hyper conservative area that we live in, but like starting a business together would have led us down this journey of having the expertise to do that and be able to make it happen. So, but I just know the two of us, when we get together and we have an idea, we make shit happen, and we aren't ones to just kind of be like, oh, this is going to be a backyard pride event. Like, no, we're going to go above and beyond with what we're doing. But definitely one of the coolest things, and I think will continue to be one of the coolest things that I will have ever been a part of in our lifetime.
For sure. But also, like, the pastor of the church, because he's the one that brought this up. He brought up hay, like, with 13 acres, but he brought it up in a meeting that we had with him for another LGBT organization, and that he had this acreage. And then we met with him for like the meeting after that to confirm that it was a go.
Yeah,
And
are you for real?
expecting us not to really run with it. And he was like, it's okay too at the first years, like 25, 50 people. And we're like, you don't know us.
We don't do that small.
It's not 25, 50 people.
And he's been, I mean, just like every time we hit him with something crazy and new, he's on board with it. But yeah, every time I'm like, God, he's going to be scared. We're scaring him away. This is huge. I mean, this is becoming such a big thing here. But
when we talk about like allyship and we talk about showing up and really affirming, I mean, what a great example of somebody who is really being an affirming ally in the community who has high stakes, like to show up, but also like high stakes, the potential for high impact.
yes, and he has had someone in the church say, like, I'd love that this is happening, but why here? And his response is like, why not here? I called him to see or I emailed him to see if he would be part of our photo shoot for promos. And he's like, yeah, I'll make it happen. I have to leave after 15 minutes, but I will. He got there. The photographer had him like with arms around a gay man and a a bisexual flag around their shoulders. And he was like, yeah, whatever, I'm here for it. And then, interviewed with Fort Worth Weekly for the article that they put out, and there will be, I think, a very cool surprise for a lot of people at Pride Kelso that will show just how affirming he is.
I love that though, because what an opportunity for him to help make it safe for people to go, okay, I don't know anything about this, but maybe it's not as scary and taboo as I think it is. And so let me just explore a little bit. Like it doesn't mean you have to become part of the LGBTQIA plus community. It doesn't even mean you have to change the way that you believe or your strongly held beliefs, but just starting to explore a little bit more. So I absolutely love that, and super thankful for you, Reverend Allen.
Yeah. One other thing that I thought of too is I don't think that I ever thought that we would make this big of an impact in our community, as much as we have, like, even since starting our business and just being, like, openly out.
Yeah.
But especially in this type of way. And so I think that that's just super meaningful to us. And it's just something that I can't even put into words with that, because I think that once we talked and we decided to start Pride Kelso, I think that it was something that we just were like, hey, even if we can just change one person's life, in our community.
Yep.
And I know that we've already changed many more than that. And I think that that's just so meaningful to us. And I don't think that we could have ever done that with our work on the side of our business, obviously. And so just it leading us to that and ending up in this position is something that's just so unreal to me.
Somebody said to me the other day, and I didn't tell you this yet, but somebody was like, well, it means something to just change one life, and it feels like you're getting greedy right now because y'all are just making it bigger.
Oh.
What a weird statement to make. We're not getting greedy for us. Like, this isn't a greedy for us. This is a greedy because, yeah, you're right. It is super cool and super impactful when we get that one message about somebody's life being changed. But if we've gotten over 1,000 now,
Yeah.
and there's possibility for more, like what a disservice we would be doing if we didn't push for more lives to be impacted.
I know it's what I was taught growing up. Be smaller. Be like passive. Be, fit the mold. And, it's funny. I was talking to my mom while I was up with her this last week, and she was never like the housewife sort of a stereotype. And I was like, why? Like, I don't get it. Like, she always kind of had this independence in her. And I think that's where my sisters and I all got it from, because we are all very strong, independent women, maybe very differently, but that was the model that we saw. But certainly all around school, church, all the messages was be smaller, don't make waves. And even in the work setting, things that were appropriate for my male peers to do were not appropriate for me to do, because I was seen as heartless, and I was seen as too intense, and I was seen as too industrious and too competitive. Competitive was a bad trait that I had versus, in a male counterpart, like, oh yeah, that's just how they get ahead. That's somebody who's very career minded. And so, like, I just think it's pretty badass that you guys are leaning into this and saying, we're not going to be small. We're not going to be quiet. We're going to use our voice, and we're going to stand up, and we're going to be as loud as we can, because somebody needs to be.
I mean, it's very obvious the community needs it, right? Like, just looking back on my generation that came through Keller, like, obviously there were many of us there who did not feel seen, did not feel heard. There was an entire community, but no one knew about it. Like, that's why it's needed. And if obviously that person hasn't lost a close friend or a loved one or someone who just needed a lifeline, and one isn't enough, especially whenever tools and resources and all of the things that have been safeguards that have been put in place to protect these people are being ripped away.
I mean, who would ever say to a superhero, we saved one life? Like, isn't that
Right.
enough? Don't get greedy.
It's first of all, Chris, I feel like you're probably younger than me.
Probably just a little.
He's like 12 years old still.
No, I'm at least 21. I can
But
get into that VIP tent.
it's such a, I mean, I myself have been going through just this roller coaster of standing boldly in who I am, because I know that it is with good intention, but there are those voices that get in sometimes. So, I think I'm so proud of us, and I know that this is brave, and I know that it's badass, and I know that it is cool. And to your point, Jen, I do feel like, no, but I can't say that, because then like people are going to judge me for that. And even, people in the gay community judge me for that. I feel our business coaches did like a whole podcast series on like being the villain in your world, and like a villain isn't really a bad thing, actually. And I'm really embracing that villain era, and me saying how proud I am and what like a badass I'm being right now doesn't mean that I don't also want everybody else to be that badass.
Yeah.
And me being proud and putting that out there, like, as far as I know, I'm the first gay person on the board of directors for the Greater Keller Chamber. I know.
Pretty awesome.
I mean, I looked at the pictures, and we know 90% of the people, but I'm pretty sure that last year, Shana and I, we were top 10 most inspiring, accomplished, and engaging women for Society Life magazine.
That's awesome.
This is their 10-year anniversary of doing that. So like we opened the mailbox and had a magazine with all 10, so 100 women on the front of this magazine. And like, I'm 99% sure we're the only lesbians on the front of that. But that allows other people to see like what is possible. And
right.
If you can see it, you can be it.
It's very true.
And I think that's the whole point too with Pride Kelso is like, we have this motto right now that we need to be more present in more places, like more prides in more places for us to be seen and be heard and not be silent. And I think that that's what Pride Kelso is going to give other cities in the area, like other towns even beyond that, to be able to have the courage and see that they can make this happen too. Like, even if you don't have the city's support, or if you don't have, the money and you're even two small entrepreneurs, like you can make it happen in some way and figure it out. But it's so important for it to be out there.
And it's really cool. So like the Badge of Pride exhibit, which like just quick plug, like it's at the Urban Archives and Museum until September 28th. We have no skin in the game. We just did their VIP night, but it is so impactful. And as we were working with Badge of Pride to do the VIP night for that exhibit and get sponsors and just learning everything we did about queer history and walking through that exhibit, we thought, like, how cool. How cool will it be if this is a movement that is in a museum one day?
Yeah.
Because it changed lives and it changed views on our community and like what that will do for our future generations. We have our youngest is part of the queer community, and for them to be able to grow up and have a different experience, they're already having a different experience. Like they're so cool and accepting and just I
It's a
wish
very different experience.
Yeah, but also facing stuff,
similar challenges, and if not in a more public, or like the spotlight is more on it, and so the stakes feel higher.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what I know from my own experience is that when you start drawing the attention of the people who are telling you to be quieter and who are protesting and who are, whispering the gossip, behind the scenes or yelling it at you from the crowd, like that's when you know that you're doing it right because you're standing up, you're making waves, you're being heard. And I think that sometimes that's when people back down. But as the queens showed us all those years ago, that's the time to stand strong because that's when you've got the attention that you really have the opportunity to make change.
Yeah. And I am making a post tonight, and I created like these things about the different voices that are needed for movements. And you need all sorts of voices in this world, and you need the rebel, you need the intelligence, you need the artist. There's all different voices that are needed right now. We're trying to get more of those voices because we are trying to be all of those, but we can't be all of those.
Yeah.
Not a storyteller. I really suck at telling stories.
I don't know. I think
I
you're
would
a pretty
disagree
good
with that.
storyteller.
A lot of anxiety because I feel like I am. But we definitely need all the voices, and all of the different kinds of voices are going to draw criticism from people that they even thought loved and supported them. But it's just having the confidence and like the good intention in what you're doing that will just drown out the people that are against you.
Yeah.
I do think there's a quote, right? Like every great journey, every long journey, something like that starts with one step, the first step. And so I think if you want change and you need change, then you have to be willing to take that first step. And I would say you have both jumped in with both feet first. So thank you for doing that for the community there in Keller, Southlake.
Yeah.
We're proud to be able to do so.
Yeah. So, for our listeners who are inspired by your work and want to support Pride Kelso, what are the best ways that they can contribute, whether that's through sponsorship, if it's donations, volunteering, advocacy? You just spoke about all the voices that are needed. Like how can they learn more? How can they get connected? How can
Yeah, so we, obviously the monetary needs are there. We have a GoFundMe for Pride Kelso. Sponsorships are definitely needed. I think I love the grassroots kind of feel of this whole thing. Feels like it's bringing it back to what Pride originally was. But there are so many other ways, even if you can't give monetarily. So just like sharing, helping algorithms, getting it to more people is definitely super helpful. Our fundraising event that's coming up. There are just so many. I made a post recently about it, but there are so many ways. The sharing it, if you have some connection somewhere that you forgot about but would be beneficial to connect us to, we'll do the hard work. We don't mind asking for money when it's for a cause that we really believe in. And yeah, advocacy is huge. I think even just showing up to the event and not, even if you're still worrying about what people will think, but you're willing to show up and not let that keep you from showing up is huge and makes waves in the community. Like, how can you deny? I think the Badge of Pride exhibit actually, not going to get into it, but their guest count has like significantly increased at the Urban
Yeah,
Archive.
get into it. Let's get into it. That's what we're here for. Tell us about it.
There are just some people in the city of Irving that have wanted to, I think, and I am not speaking on behalf of Badge of Pride. I want to make that very clear. This is just my own experience and things that I have heard, but that some people within the city of Irving have tried to shut it down. And but the more people go, like how that gives a voice, like numbers give a voice. And so how can you go to constituents and say that you shut down something that brought more people into the Irving Archives and Museum than have ever been in there?
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. That's an incredible feat.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with Pride Kelso, I think. Like you showing up and having these numbers and showing how successful this can be because it is needed and there are more of us here than people realize is enough to make such a huge difference.
Yeah. So it's a free music and arts festival. It's on what day?
It's on October 4th from 2 to 6 p.m.
And that's a Saturday, right?
It is, yes.
Saturday, October 4th, 2 to 6 p.m. It's free. You get to hear some amazing music. You get to interact with some amazing vendors. You get to do some yoga if you want, go to some workshops if you want. There's a free drag show. There's free bottled water. Like, why not come? Come and bring a friend. Show up because I think.
And just a quick plug too, you can follow or you can go check out our website on pridekelso.com. And then also you can follow us on Facebook. It's Pride Keller on Facebook.
Because it's a lot of work to change it after I.
We know. We know.
We know all about that.
These are just a few ways. And then on our website for pridekelso.com, we actually have a list of resources. So if you're looking for, ways to get involved or different resources for your youth or resources for yourself, we have a lot of the nonprofits that are going to be there and then all of the businesses that are going to be there as well as far as like counseling services and different things. So
that's so awesome.
I just have to say for any sponsors out there that have stopped sponsoring LGBT events, we have completely removed your excuse for that because you have both options. So most of the companies that have sponsored, actually all but one so far, has sponsored through the Dreyson just as a marketing expense. We are legitimately an events or an experiential marketing company through our events. But we do have a nonprofit arm if people need to donate through that. But we realized through our work with Badge of Pride that so many companies that used to support the LGBT community have pulled out. And so we thought how great it is that we have the Dreyson is not donating to an LGBT cause. You just get some marketing out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So show up, become a sponsor, show up, be a part of this historical event that really is creating a space that is wanted, is needed, is desired. And you better hurry up and get in on this because apparently the demand is high. I am really excited. I am so excited to be there and to take pictures of, how amazing this is going to be. And honestly, I just don't think that this would be happening if you two weren't leading this effort. And I am incredibly grateful to have been able to meet you. You are just such an inspiration. You are, you make me want to be a better person. So honestly, just thank you. I like for everything that you are doing in this community to make it a better place. Ace and I talk quite often about, there has to be a balance between finding a place that feels like home to you and making a place feel like home instead of just turning your back and leaving when it doesn't. And I think you guys are incredible examples of people who are committed to creating a space instead of turning your back and walking away and saying, you know what, this just isn't for me. And to me, that is just an incredible inspiration, and we need more of that. So, in the words of one of my favorite recent historical leaders, be the change that we want to see in the world. I just think it's incredible. Thank you so much for spending this time with us, for sharing your stories with us, and for literally this amazing work that you are doing. It's so important, and it means so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us. I think, I'm looking forward to seeing when Pride Kelso is 3 years in and 5 years in, and you guys have us back on, and we can see where
That'll be a whole
grown.
part of our journey.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
Maybe we'll live stream from there for the first time. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. We're going to live this year, Chris. That's happening.
I already have it on my list of things to your comfort zone.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you from the very bottom of my heart, my soul. You all are the exact thing I was looking for when I was struggling. And so, I'm not in that same place in my life anymore, but as I've told Jen many of times, there are people who are. And if that's the one person who needs it, to hear it, to connect with it, then great, let's do it. So we are super proud of both of you and all that you're doing. And we are honored that you've given us the opportunity to get to know y'all, get to know your story, and help bring awareness to this awesome event in a community that obviously is near and dear to all of our hearts, even though we are not all in the same place anymore. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are listening to this and you are planning on coming out to Pride Kelso, throw it in the comments. Share this podcast with your friends, with your family, with your coworkers. If you know people who have moved away, share this event with them. Have them come back for it. I know I am. I've seen several other people who have said they are. We would love to hear who's going to be there and who we can be looking for on the grounds.
Yeah, and if you are not in town, but you want to come in town for the event, we are happy to provide some great recommendations on places to stay. And if there are enough of you, we may put together a little pre-party. So definitely reach out and let us know. And Chris, how can they get a hold of us?
Yeah, so you can reach us via email at chrisjeninthemorning@gmail.com. You can also reach us via voicemail or text message at 940-278-8129.
And don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are literally almost everywhere. We are on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I don't know, all of the places. And our handle is Chris and Jen ITM. So please like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, get more awareness for this event out to all the people that you know, because we think it's pretty incredible. We think that April and Shaina are pretty incredible. And thank you for tuning in. Until next time, be kind to one another and have a great week.
Bye, y'all.